Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his face as he watched the transport ship disappear into the orange sky of Kepler 442b. The rumble of its engines faded away, leaving 24 young cadets standing alone on the rocky ground of what would be their home for the next week. "Well, that's it," said Commander Pete Harris, a gray-haired man with scars on his hands and a voice like gravel. "No more comfortable beds, no more hot meals from the mess hall, just you, the wilderness, and whatever you can make work." Jake looked around at his fellow cadets. They all wore the same green training uniforms and carried the same basic gear. Most of them looked nervous. A few looked excited. Katie Brooks was already checking her radio equipment. Ryan Carter was examining his training rifle like it might fall apart in his hands. "This is your final test," Commander Harris continued. "Everything you have learned in the past 2 years comes down to this week. You will work as teams. You will face challenges. Some of you will want to quit. But if you want to become real soldiers, you will push through." Lisa Wong raised her hand. She was the smallest person in the group, but Jake had seen her outthink people twice her size. "Sir, what exactly will we be doing?" "War games," Harris replied. "You will split into 2 teams. One team defends the training facility. The other team tries to capture it. The defenders have better positions. The attackers have more mobility. Both sides have the same basic weapons and supplies." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This was it, what he had been waiting for. 2 years of classroom lessons and small exercises had led to this moment. Real tactics, real decisions, real consequences, even if the weapons only fired paint rounds. "Morrison," Harris called out. "You are team leader for the attackers. Brooks, you handle communications. Carter, you are in charge of heavy weapons. Wong, you are the medic and second in command." Jake nodded. He had worked with all of these people before. Katie was brilliant with technology. Ryan was strong and reliable. Lisa was smart and calm under pressure. He felt good about his team. "The rest of you are with Sergeant Mills for the defense team," Harris said, pointing to a younger instructor. "You have 2 hours to set up your positions. After that, the exercise begins." The cadets started moving toward the training facility. It was not much to look at. A few small buildings made of gray metal. Some walls and barriers scattered around. A communication tower that looked like it might fall over in a strong wind. But for the next week, this would be their battlefield. Jake gathered his team around a metal table outside the main building. "Okay, people, we need a plan. Katie, what can you tell me about their communications?" Katie adjusted her headset and flipped through some papers. "Standard military radio setup, 3 frequencies. I can monitor all of them, but I cannot break their codes without more time." "How much time?" Jake asked. "Maybe a day, maybe 2. Ryan set his training rifle on the table. "What about weapons? These training guns are okay, but they do not have much range. And the paint rounds do not always work right." "We work with what we have," Jake said. "Lisa, what about medical supplies?" Lisa opened her medical kit. "Basic first aid, some emergency supplies. Nothing fancy, but I can keep people in the fight if they get hurt." Jake looked at the map of the area. The training facility sat in a valley surrounded by rocky hills. There were 3 main approaches. The defenders would probably put most of their people on the high ground overlooking the valley. "Here is what we do," Jake said, pointing to the map. "We do not attack the facility directly. We make them think we are going to attack from the east. While they focus on that, we circle around and hit them from the west. That will take a long time," Ryan said, "and we will be exposed while we move." "Better than walking straight into their guns," Jake replied. Katie looked up from her radio. "I am getting some strange signals on the emergency frequency, probably just interference from the atmosphere here." "Keep monitoring it," Jake said. "Let me know if anything changes." The next 2 hours passed quickly. Jake's team moved to their starting positions in the hills east of the facility. They could see the defenders setting up barriers and weapon positions. Everything looked normal for a training exercise. As the sun began to set, Jake felt ready. His team knew their jobs. They had a good plan, the weather was clear, what could go wrong? At exactly 1800 hours, Commander Harris's voice came over the radio. "Exercise begins now. Good hunting." Jake signaled to his team, and they started moving down the hill toward their first objective. The rocky ground made noise under their boots, but that was normal. In a real battle, staying completely silent would be impossible anyway. They had been moving for about 10 minutes when Katie suddenly stopped. She held up her hand and pressed her headset closer to her ear. "Jake," she whispered, "I am picking up transmissions that are not from our people." "What kind of transmissions?" "I do not know. The language is, different. Really different." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Different how?" "Like nothing I have ever heard before. And the signals are coming from orbit." Before Jake could respond, Ryan pointed toward the sky. "Hey, does anyone else see those lights?" Jake looked up. 3 bright points of light were moving across the star field. They were too fast to be planets, and too bright to be normal spacecraft. "Katie," Jake said quietly, "patch me through to Commander Harris." Katie worked with her radio for several seconds. "I cannot reach him. Something is jamming our communications." The cold feeling in Jake's stomach got worse. Training exercises did not include communication jamming. Training exercises did not include mysterious signals from orbit. Training exercises did not include unknown spacecraft in the sky. "Lisa," Jake said, "remind me, what did Commander Harris say about the scenario for this exercise?" Lisa thought for a moment. "He said war games, attackers versus defenders, basic weapons and supplies." "Did he say anything about outside forces? Other players in the exercise?" "No, just us." Jake looked at his team. Katie was still trying to work her radio. Ryan was watching the lights in the sky. Lisa was checking her medical kit one more time. He made a decision that would change everything. "Forget the exercise," Jake said. "Something is wrong here, really wrong. We need to get back to the facility and find Commander Harris." None of them knew that at that exact moment, 50,000 alien soldiers were preparing to land on their small training planet. None of them knew that the Zephyrian Empire had chosen this location for the first step of their invasion of human space. All they knew was that their simple training exercise had just become something much more dangerous. Jake's team moved quickly through the darkness toward the training facility. The strange lights in the sky had grown brighter and were now clearly moving in formation. Katie kept trying her radio, but all she got was static mixed with those weird signals in the unknown language. "There," Ryan whispered, pointing ahead. "I can see the facility lights." But as they got closer, Jake noticed something wrong. The lights were not the normal yellow glow of the facility's power system. These lights were blue and white, and they flickered in patterns that made no sense. "Katie, are you getting anything from the other team?" Jake asked. "Nothing from our people," Katie replied. "But those strange signals are getting stronger. Much stronger. And Jake, I think they are coming from down here now, not just from orbit." Lisa crouched behind a rock and pulled out her binoculars. "I can see movement around the facility, but the shapes look wrong. Too tall. Moving differently than people should move." Jake took the binoculars and looked for himself. What he saw made his blood run cold. Tall figures in dark armor were moving around the facility. They carried weapons that glowed with the same blue light as the strange signals, and they definitely were not human. "We need to find Commander Harris," Jake said. "Right now." They moved carefully around the edge of the valley, staying in the shadows. Katie continued monitoring the radio signals, and slowly she began to understand pieces of what she was hearing. "Jake," she whispered urgently, "I think I am starting to figure out their language. They keep using the same words over and over, something that sounds like invasion, and something that sounds like resistance. What else? They seem to be talking about us, about humans. They think this facility is some kind of major military base." Jake almost laughed, but the situation was too serious. "A major military base? This place has 24 cadets and 2 instructors." "They do not know that," Katie said. "Listen to this." She adjusted her radio and let them hear the alien transmissions. Even though they could not understand the words, the tone sounded urgent and worried. "They sound scared," Lisa observed. "Scared of what?" Ryan asked. "We have training weapons and paint rounds." Before anyone could answer, they heard human voices ahead. Jake led his team toward the sound and found Commander Harris crouched behind a concrete barrier with Sergeant Mills and 6 cadets from the defense team. "Morrison!" Harris called out in a loud whisper. "Get your people over here, now!" Jake's team ran across the open ground and dove behind the barrier. Harris looked older than he had just a few hours ago. His face was pale and his hands shook slightly. "Sir, what is happening?" Jake asked. "We are in the middle of an alien invasion," Harris said. "Real aliens, real weapons, real danger." Sergeant Mills pointed toward the facility. "They landed about an hour ago. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They have taken over the entire complex." "What about the other cadets?" Lisa asked. "We got most of them out before the aliens secured the perimeter," Harris replied. "But Johnson and Parker were inside when they landed. We do not know if they are alive." Katie held up her radio. "Sir, I have been monitoring their communications. I think they believe this is a major human military installation." Harris stared at her. "What makes you think that?" "They keep talking about resistance and fortifications. They seem to expect a big fight, and they are worried about human tactical superiority." "Tactical superiority?" Ryan laughed bitterly. "We have paint guns." "They do not know that," Jake said slowly. An idea was forming in his mind. "Sir, what if we let them keep thinking this is a real military base?" "Morrison, these are not training opponents. They have real weapons that can really kill you. But they are scared," Jake insisted. Katie heard it in their transmissions. "They are worried about fighting humans. What if we make them more worried?" Harris considered this. "What do you have in mind?" "We act like soldiers. Real soldiers. We make them think they have attacked a human military facility that is ready to fight back." "With what weapons?" Sergeant Mills asked. Ryan held up his training rifle. "With these. But we modify them first. I have been working on ways to make them more effective. And we have explosives for the demolition exercises." "Training explosives," Harris pointed out. "Explosives that make noise and smoke," Ryan said. "The aliens do not know they are not lethal." Katie looked up from her radio. "The alien transmissions are changing. They are talking about human stealth. Technology now. I think they lost track of some of their scouts." "Stealth technology?" Lisa asked. "We have been moving around in the dark without them seeing us," Jake explained. "To them, that probably looks like advanced military equipment." Harris shook his head. "This is insane. We are cadets. We are not ready for real combat." "Sir," Jake said quietly, "we are the only humans on this planet. If we do not fight back, they will kill everyone here, and then move on to attack Earth. We may not be ready, but we are what we have." The commander looked at each of the young faces around him. These were not the same cadets who had arrived that morning. Fear and responsibility had aged them in just a few hours. "All right," Harris said finally. "But we do this smart. We make them think we are a real military unit, but we do not take unnecessary risks. Our goal is to survive until help arrives." "How long until help arrives?" Lisa asked. Harris and Mills exchanged glances. "The next supply ship is not scheduled for 2 weeks," Mills said. 2 weeks? Jake repeated. "We have to fool an alien invasion force for 2 weeks." Katie adjusted her headset again. "Jake, they are moving. Large groups heading toward the hills around the facility. I think they are setting up a perimeter." "A perimeter against what?" Ryan asked. "Against the human military response they think is coming," Jake realized. "They expect Earth to send warships and soldiers to defend this place." "Should we tell them no one is coming?" Lisa asked. Jake looked at his commander, then at his fellow cadets. "No, we let them prepare for a battle that will never come. And while they are busy preparing, we figure out how to make them think they already lost." Commander Harris smiled for the first time since the aliens landed. "Morrison, that might be the craziest plan I have ever heard." Will it work, sir? I have no idea, but it is better than anything else we have. In the distance, alien voices called out in their strange language. Blue lights moved through the facility like deadly fireflies, and 24 human cadets prepared to fight the most important battle of their lives with nothing but training weapons, determination, and the hope that sometimes being underestimated is the greatest advantage of all. The next morning brought new problems and new opportunities. Jake woke up before dawn and found Katie already awake, listening to her radio with a confused expression on her face. "What are you hearing?" Jake asked quietly. "They are talking about human tactical movements," Katie whispered. "They sound really worried. They keep mentioning something about advanced flanking maneuvers and coordinated positioning." Jake frowned. "We have not made any tactical movements. We have been hiding behind this barrier all night." "That is what I thought too. But listen to this." Katie adjusted her radio so Jake could hear the alien transmissions. Even though he could not understand the words, the aliens sounded nervous and confused. Commander Harris crawled over to them. "What is the situation, Brooks?" "Sir, I think they are seeing things that are not there," Katie replied. "Yesterday, when we moved around the valley to avoid their patrols, they must have interpreted it as some kind of military strategy." "And now?" Harris asked. "Now they think we have them surrounded." Jake looked around at their small group. 18. Cadets and 2 instructors hiding behind a concrete barrier with training weapons. Surrounded? There are 20 of us and hundreds of them. "They do not know that," Lisa said, joining the conversation. From their perspective, human soldiers appeared out of nowhere, struck at their scouts, and then vanished. That probably looks like advanced stealth tactics. Ryan had been working on his training rifle while they talked. "I figured out how to make these weapons more effective," he announced. "The paint rounds will not hurt anyone, but they make a loud noise when they hit, and I can modify the sound to make it seem like real gunfire." "How?" Commander Harris asked. "I found some small charges in the demolition kit. If I attach them to the paint rounds, they will explode with noise and smoke when they hit a target. The aliens will think they are being shot at with real weapons." Jake felt a plan forming in his mind. What if we use their confusion against them? They expect us to act like professional soldiers, so we act like professional soldiers. "Morrison, we are not professional soldiers," Sergeant Mills pointed out. "No, but we know how professional soldiers are supposed to act. We have studied tactics for 2 years. We know the theory." Harris considered this. "What do you want to do?" "A pincer movement," Jake said, pointing to his tactical map. "Classic military strategy. We split into 2 groups and attack from different directions at the same time. They will expect something like that from a real military unit." "And when they shoot back with real weapons," Mills asked, "we do not stay in one place long enough for them to shoot back. We hit them fast and then disappear. They will think we have better equipment and training than we actually do." Katie looked up from her radio. "Jake, they are moving large groups of soldiers around the facility. I think they are preparing for a major battle." "Perfect," Jake said. "While they are busy preparing, we strike first." The plan was simple but risky. Jake would lead one group to the north side of the facility. Ryan would lead another group to the south. Both groups would attack at exactly the same time, making noise and creating confusion. Then they would retreat quickly before the aliens could respond effectively. "Remember," Commander Harris told them, "the goal is not to win a battle. The goal is to make them think they are fighting a real military unit. Make noise, create confusion, and get out alive." Jake's group moved through the rocky hills to their position. The alien soldiers were easy to spot because of their blue lights, but they seemed to be looking in the wrong directions. They expected attacks from the east and west, not from the north and south. At exactly 800 hours, Jake gave the signal. Both groups opened fire with their modified training weapons. The paint rounds exploded against alien armor with loud bangs and clouds of colorful smoke. The aliens shouted in their strange language and began firing back, but they were shooting at shadows. "Move!" Jake called to his team. They ran to new positions and fired again. More explosions, more smoke, more confusion. From his radio, Jake could hear Katie monitoring alien communications. "They are calling for reinforcements," she reported. "They think they are under attack by a full military company." "A company?" Lisa asked, as they ran to another position. "How many soldiers do they think we have?" "At least 100, maybe more," Katie replied. The aliens were shooting at everything now. Trees, rocks, shadows, anything that might hide a human soldier. Their blue energy weapons lit up the dawn sky like a deadly fireworks show. "Phase 2, Jake called over the radio. Ryan's group began their withdrawal, making sure to leave obvious tracks that led away from the facility. Jake's group did the same, but in a different direction. The aliens followed both sets of tracks, splitting their forces to chase what they thought were retreating human soldiers. But the cadets knew the terrain better, and they easily lost their pursuers in the rocky hills. "Did it work?" Ryan asked when both groups met back at their hiding place. Katie was listening to her radio with wide eyes. "They are calling this a major tactical defeat. They think human forces used advanced coordination to outmaneuver them." "We just ran around and shot paint at them," Lisa said. "They do not know that," Jake replied. To them, it looked like a coordinated military strike by professional soldiers. Commander Harris shook his head in amazement. "In 30 years of military service, I have never seen anything like this. You just made an alien invasion force retreat using training weapons and basic tactics." "Sir," Katie said urgently, "they are calling for more reinforcements from orbit. Much more. They think they need a full invasion fleet to defeat the humans on this planet." "How many more?" Harris asked. "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "They are bringing more soldiers because they think we are dangerous. Every success we have makes them send more forces here instead of attacking Earth." "Is that good or bad?" Ryan asked. "I do not know," Jake admitted. "But we are committed now. We have to keep making them think we are a real military unit until help arrives." Lisa looked at the alien-controlled facility in the distance. "What if help does not arrive in time?" "Then we keep fighting," Jake said simply. "We are the only thing standing between these aliens and Earth. We may not be real soldiers yet, but we are the only soldiers Earth has on this planet." The sun rose higher, and in the distance, more alien ships appeared in the sky. The cadets had won their first battle, but the war was just beginning. 3 days had passed since the first battle, and Jake could hardly believe what was happening. The aliens had brought in more ships, more soldiers, and more weapons. According to Katie's radio intercepts, there were now over 50,000 alien troops on their small planet, all because they thought 20 human cadets were a major military threat. "Jake," Katie called urgently from her listening post. "You need to hear this. They are planning something big." Jake crawled over to where Katie sat with her radio equipment. She had gotten much better at understanding the alien language, picking up key words and phrases from their constant communications. "What are they saying?" "They are talking about a final assault. Tomorrow at dawn. They want to capture the human fortress before more Earth forces arrive." "Human fortress?" Jake looked toward the training facility, which was still controlled by the aliens. "They mean our hiding spot?" "I think so. They have been watching us move around and they think this area is our main base of operations." Commander Harris joined them. "How many are coming?" "All of them," Katie replied. "Every soldier they have. They are calling it Operation Final Strike." Jake felt his stomach drop. 50,000 soldiers attacking 20 cadets. We cannot fight that many even with our tricks. "Maybe we do not have to fight them," Lisa suggested. She had been thinking about something for the past day. "What if we make them think they do not want to fight us?" "What do you mean?" Ryan asked. "They are scared of us, right? They think we are super soldiers with advanced weapons and tactics. What if we show them something that makes them even more scared?" Jake looked at his small group of fellow cadets. They were tired, hungry, and running low on supplies, but they had managed to fool an entire alien army for 3 days. Maybe Lisa was right. "What did you have in mind?" he asked. Lisa pulled out her medical kit. "I have been thinking about their behavior. They are careful. They follow rules. They expect their enemies to follow rules too. But what if we show them that humans do not follow the same rules they do? You want us to act crazy? Ryan asked. Not crazy. Different. Unpredictable. They study our tactics and try to counter them. But what if our tactics do not make sense to them? Jake began to understand. You want to confuse them so much that they do not know how to fight us. Exactly. And I think I know how to do it. Lisa's plan was unlike anything they had tried before. Instead of hiding from the aliens, they would approach them openly. Instead of using weapons, they would use psychology. Instead of acting like soldiers, they would act like humans. This is completely insane, Commander Harris said when Lisa explained her idea. Sir, everything we have done has been insane, Jake pointed out. And it has worked so far. The plan required careful timing. Katie would monitor alien communications to know exactly when their assault would begin. Ryan would prepare special effects using the remaining training explosives, and Jake would lead a small team directly toward the alien positions. Remember, Lisa told them, we are not trying to fight them. We are trying to make them think that fighting us is impossible. As the sun began to set, Jake felt more nervous than he had at any point during the past 3 days. But he also felt something else. Confidence. His team had already done the impossible. Maybe they could do it again. At midnight, Katie reported that the aliens were moving into their final positions. They will attack at dawn, she whispered. Every soldier they have. Then we move now, Jake decided. Jake's team approached the alien perimeter openly, making no attempt to hide. They carried their training weapons, but they also carried something else. White flags made from torn bedsheets. The alien sentries saw them coming and immediately raised their weapons. But they did not fire. The humans were approaching under a flag of truce, and apparently even alien armies understood that symbol. This is insane, Ryan muttered as they walked toward the alien lines. Stay calm, Jake replied. Remember, we are not surrendering. We are negotiating. They stopped 50 meters from the alien positions. Jake could see dozens of weapons pointed at them. The aliens were tall and wore dark armor that reflected the starlight. Their weapons glowed with blue energy that hummed ominously. We need to speak to your commander, Jake called out in English. There was confusion in the alien ranks. Soldiers spoke rapidly in their own language. Finally, a tall figure emerged from behind their lines. Even through his armor, Jake could tell this. Alien was different, older, more experienced, probably their leader. The alien commander spoke in heavily accented English. You are human soldiers? We are human representatives, Jake replied carefully. We have come to discuss terms. Terms? The alien sounded confused. You are surrounded. You have no position to negotiate. We are not here to negotiate our surrender, Jake said. We are here to offer you the chance to surrender to us. The silence that followed was so complete that Jake could hear his own heartbeat. Then the alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. You offer us surrender? There are 50,000 of us and 20 of you. Numbers do not matter. Lisa stepped forward. What matters is that we are human, and humans do not lose. Your species is not invincible. Are you sure about that? Jake asked. You brought 50,000 soldiers to fight 20 human cadets. Why would you need so many soldiers unless you were afraid? The alien commander hesitated. We are not afraid. We are prepared. Prepared for what? Ryan asked. We have been fighting you for 3 days with training weapons. Imagine what we could do with real weapons. Katie activated her radio so the alien commander could hear the strange mix of signals and static. Our reinforcements are already on their way, she lied smoothly. Earth Command has been monitoring the situation. They are very interested in studying your military capabilities. Studying? The alien commander asked. For future reference, Jake said. This is not a war for us. This is a training exercise. We use your invasion as practice for our military students. The alien commander took a step backward. Training exercise? Of course. Did you think Earth would send its real military to deal with you? You are not important enough for that. They sent students instead. Jake could see the alien commander processing this information. If the humans were telling the truth, then everything his forces had experienced made a terrible kind of sense. The unpredictable tactics, the impossible maneuvers, the way human soldiers appeared and disappeared like ghosts. If you are only students, the alien commander said slowly, then what are your real soldiers like? Much better than us? Lisa replied simply. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke rapidly in his own language to his soldiers. Jake could not understand the words, but he could hear the tone. Fear, uncertainty, doubt. We will consider your offer, the alien commander said finally. Do not take too long, Jake replied. Our patience has limits. As they walked back toward their hiding place, Ryan whispered, Do you think that worked? I do not know, Jake admitted. But we will find out soon. Dawn came without the promised alien assault. Instead, Katie intercepted a very different kind of transmission. Jake, she called excitedly. They are calling off the attack. The alien commander is asking his superiors for permission to negotiate a ceasefire. A ceasefire? Commander Harris could not believe it. More than that, Katie continued listening. He is recommending a full withdrawal from human space. He thinks humans are too dangerous to fight. Jake looked at his fellow cadets. They had started this week as students. Now they were about to end an interstellar war. What happens next? Lisa asked. Now we find out if we are as good at winning a war as we are at fighting one, Jake replied. The formal surrender ceremony took place 3 days later in the main building of the training facility. Jake stood in his wrinkled cadet uniform, trying to look professional, while the most powerful alien general in the galaxy prepared to hand over his sword to a 22-year-old student from Texas. General Vextar was even more impressive in person than he had been during their midnight confrontation. He stood nearly 8 feet tall with dark blue skin marked by silver scars that spoke of many battles. His armor was polished to a mirror shine, and his weapons were works of art as much as instruments of war. I, General Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire, formally surrender all forces under my command to the human military representatives, the alien said in careful English. Jake accepted the ornate sword with both hands, hoping he would not drop it. The weapon was heavier than it looked, and covered with symbols he could not read. The Zephyrian Empire recognizes human superiority in military tactics and strategic thinking, General Vextar continued. We request permission to withdraw all forces from human space and establish peaceful relations between our peoples. Commander Harris, who had been silent during most of the ceremony, finally spoke. Permission granted. Safe travels, General. As the alien delegation left the building, Jake turned to his fellow cadets. They all looked as stunned as he felt. Did that really just happen? Ryan asked. I think so, Katie replied. According to their communications, the Zephyrian fleet is already preparing to leave orbit. Lisa sat down heavily in a metal chair. We just ended an interstellar war with paint guns and training explosives. And a lot of luck, Jake added. Commander Harris walked over to them, shaking his head in amazement. In 30 years of military service, I have never seen anything like this. You people have rewritten the book on asymmetric warfare. Sir, Jake said, we just did what our training taught us to do. We adapted to the situation and used whatever resources we had available. Your training taught you to convince 50,000 alien soldiers that 20 cadets were a major military threat? Our training taught us to think, Katie corrected. The rest we figured out as we went along. Over the next few hours, they learned more about what their week of accidental warfare had accomplished. Katie intercepted transmissions from departing Zephyrian ships, and the conversations were extraordinary. They are calling human military doctrine terrifyingly effective, Katie reported. They think our unpredictability is a sign of advanced tactical training. What about our weapons? Ryan asked. They believe we have stealth technology that makes our weapons appear less dangerous than they actually are. They think the paint rounds were some kind of psychological warfare designed to humiliate enemy soldiers instead of killing them. Jake laughed despite himself. Psychological warfare with paintball guns. It worked, Lisa pointed out. The real Surprise came when Katie picked up a transmission from the Zephyrian homeworld. "Jake, you need to hear this. They are broadcasting news of the human encounter to the entire galaxy." "What are they saying?" "They are warning other species not to attack human space. They are describing humans as the species that trains children for war and masters of impossible tactics." Commander Harris raised an eyebrow. "They think all human children receive military training?" "They saw us operating as a military unit," Jake realized. "To them, we looked like young soldiers, not students. They think Earth routinely trains teenagers for combat. And now every alien species in the galaxy thinks humans are a warrior race," Katie added. The implications were staggering. What had started as a simple training exercise had become humanity's introduction to galactic politics. And that introduction had established humans as something to be feared and respected. 2 weeks later, when the Earth fleet finally arrived to investigate the missing communication from the training facility, they found a very different situation than they expected. Instead of a destroyed outpost, they found a functioning base with 24 cadets who had accidentally become the most famous humans in the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Martinez, the fleet commander, listened to their report with growing amazement. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly. You convinced an alien invasion force to surrender by making them think you were too dangerous to fight?" "Yes, ma'am," Jake replied. "Using training weapons and basic military tactics?" "Yes, ma'am. And now multiple alien species want to form defensive alliances with humanity because they think we are the galaxy's dominant military power?" "According to the communications we have intercepted, yes, ma'am." Admiral Martinez turned to Commander Harris. "Pete, what really happened here?" "Exactly what they told you, Sarah. These cadets saved Earth without knowing they were doing it. The consequences of their accidental victory continued to unfold over the following months. Jake was promoted to colonel at age 22, making him the youngest person ever to hold that rank in human military history. Katie became the head of the new Xenocommunications Division, tasked with maintaining contact with the dozens of alien species that now wanted to communicate with humanity. Ryan took charge of the weapons development program, where his ability to make training equipment seem dangerous became a valuable skill for designing deterrent systems. Lisa established the first human-alien medical exchange program, using her experience treating alien patients to build bridges between species. Commander Harris became the most requested instructor in the military, though he could never explain to his students exactly why his teaching methods were classified at the highest levels. The training facility itself became a pilgrimage site. Alien military leaders from across the galaxy came to study the place where 24 human cadets had defeated a 50,000-strong invasion force. They analyzed every rock and building, trying to understand the secret of human military superiority. The secret, of course, was that there was no secret. The cadets had simply done what humans always do when faced with impossible odds. They adapted, improvised, and refused to give up. But the galaxy did not need to know that. As far as every alien species was concerned, humans were the masters of warfare, capable of turning any situation to their advantage. It was a reputation that brought peace to human space and respect for humanity throughout the galaxy. And it all started with a training exercise that went very, very wrong. Or perhaps, Jake thought as he looked up at the stars from his new office on Earth, it had gone exactly right.